AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Welcome into another edition of the James Boyd Podcast. I, of course, am James Boyd, joined by my editor, Jim Aiello. And Jim, we are doing this for a second time because of some technical difficulties on our end. Luckily for you all listening, you wouldn't notice because we did not upload that previous podcast because it would not have sounded like English language. So a little corrupted file had us delayed a little bit, but delayed is not denied, Jim. And so before we dive into the football and rehash the conversation that we already just had, I have to ask again, for those who missed it the first time around, favorite Thanksgiving dish?
I like this. It's like a good edit. You know what? We get the first round and then we get to do it again. Do it even better.
You go.
It's like a good edit. Yeah, we talked about this. And it's funny because I knew you were going to bring this up this the second time through. I'm like, do I want to change my answer? Do I want to change it? Because the only person who knows is James. But no, I'm going to stay consistent. I said, you can't, if you get a nice homemade stuffing, you can't beat it. Like a nice homemade stuffing brings the whole meal together. I'm a fan of most Thanksgiving foods. Turkey's not my favorite. I'll have it. I'll eat it. I'll put it on a sandwich later. I'll feel better about that, to be honest with you. I like it on the sandwich later when you can dress it all up and have it for leftovers.
Ooh,
but
okay.
yeah, I prefer if you're making me pick, I'm picking ham. But yeah, I love stuffing. Like I said, that's the go-to. How about you?
I love candy yams. I love that. I
Okay.
feel like that my plate needs to have some candy yams on it, just for a little sweetness. I don't know if it counts as a vegetable. I mean, I guess you start with a potato or a yam or whatever. I'm not exactly sure that it's the healthiest when they're done cooking it and making it all sweet and stuff, but that's good. And then I'm a ham guy as well. So I think that is certainly two items that have to be on my plate. I had a question earlier where somebody asked me, "Hey, what do you not want on your plate?" For me, it's probably cranberry sauce. I'm not a big cranberry sauce guy. I can
Don't
take
need
that
it.
and punt that into the abyss. I don't ever need to see that again. But to each their own. For those listening who like cranberry sauce, I wish that you loved yourself more not to eat that. But,
Yeah,
to each their own. I am judging you. I'm judging you very harshly, but it is what it is.
I hear you. Like I said, I listen. It's also we're confessing things here. I'm not a big Thanksgiving dessert guy. I'm not a big dessert guy in general. I like them, but I like them fine. But here's what the thing is: I like the main course more. I'm not saving room for anything else afterward, man.
There you go.
I'm just diving. I'm going back for seconds and thirds until I'm full, and then there's no room left for dessert. That's my
Smart
strategy.
man, smart man. So without further ado, let's quickly recap this Kansas City game because at
Yeah,
this point it's kind of like old news. We're at the middle of the week, but there are some stuff. I think some things since that game to dive
for sure.
into about the matchup, the mindset towards the end of the game, clock management things, and then we'll look forward to the next challenge, which is a big one against the Houston Texans. So for starters, Jim, I think my biggest takeaway from the loss in Kansas City and over the last
hmm
couple of days is wondering if Shane Steichen is in this position again, will he be this stubborn? Is that the right word? To this point when it comes to throwing the ball, because I feel like when there's been a few times throughout his tenure that Shane has been atop my list of reasons the Colts have lost,
hmm
it's usually because he's abandoned the run and the clock management hasn't been the greatest considering how the game is unfolding. So I think that was a big source of frustration from that game in Kansas City was you were up the entire game, literally the entire game. You never trailed literally until you lost the game. So that fourth quarter, Jim, that's one I think that will stick with this team for a long time. It's a squandered opportunity, but also a little bit of window, I think, into the psyche of Shane Steichen and how much further he can still grow as a head coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's the. I was trying to think. You said stubborn. I can't decide if stubborn's the word. I don't even know if running enters the equation of his mind much. I don't even think he's like choosing not to run.
Yeah, that's
Quote
fair.
an old Seinfeld bit, but yeah, it's I think he just wants to throw because that's what he likes to do, and that's his just like his preference. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we can go with the details. They had the last four drives, they were three and out. They ran once. It was a 2 yard loss by Jonathan Taylor. I think it was early on. I think it was the first drive, that first of the three and outs, and I think that was it. I think for him, it was like, okay, we're gonna throw, and I think that Shane Steichen thinks, and this is good. This is going to maybe come across negative, but I think that Shane Steichen thinks that he can out scheme pretty much anybody. He can design somebody open. He can beat you because he knows what you're going to do. He prepared all week for it, and he's going to figure out a way to run a guy free, to run Ashton Dulin, tuck him against the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden you're not going to see him coming. There's a 50-yard gain. Like I think that's what Shane Steichen thinks he's going to be able to do 9 times out of 10, and then he trusts his players to go execute it. And unfortunately, that's just not always the case. Sometimes you get beat by a better coordinator like Steve Spagnuolo, or sometimes you don't have the players doing the things that you need them to do. I mean, Daniel Jones certainly didn't look the best down the stretch in that game. And so, to your point, the most simple answer to trying to win that game is give the ball to your best player and do it repeatedly and let him go and try to win the game for you. I thought the best point, I mean, other than abandoning the run and being a bad thing to do, the point that you made in your story is that, and you said it here with the clock management, is that they had the lead. They needed to be focusing on draining clock, man. Like that, they were just giving Patrick Mahomes more life every time they threw an incomplete pass. So, yeah, it was a poorly managed game. I guess the maybe you can say the silver lining is he got that out of the way before he does it in a playoff game because you know these playoff games are going to be tight or a game down the line where you're trying to make the playoffs. But yeah, I'm trying to spin it positive for you guys because like that otherwise that was a game they had in hand and they punted it away.
Absolutely. And within that whole realm of what happened, at the center of it, from a field standpoint, as far as players actually playing in the game, is Daniel Jones. And he started that game, I believe he was 12 of 14, and then he ended it 5 of 15 passing. So, not his greatest performance by any means. It was a clean ish performance. I say clean ish because
Yeah.
he had 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, no sacks, should have had a pick in
Oof.
the fourth quarter when he threw it into triple coverage. So, I mean, what are you thinking there? But when it comes to Daniel Jones, and you kind of broached this topic to me, and this is how I think we can move the story ahead going into the
Sure.
Houston game, going into the last 6 games of the year, is wait a second, James. How much should we be looking at the franchise tag?
Hmm.
And I'll give the floor to you to let people kind of understand how our conversation went. Because to me, at first, I was like, what is my editor talking about? I am not writing this. He ain't about to get me booed off the stage here in Indianapolis, get tomatoes thrown at me. But I
That's
think your logic won me over when I stepped back a little bit more and understood the full scope of what you were saying.
Yeah, man, I'm just lobbing grenades from Chicago over here. That's it. That's it. No, I mean I was driving back. It was Monday morning. You were flying back. I had dropped my kids off at daycare, and I'm thinking about the Colts, and I'm thinking like all the reports we've seen recently, most recently from Diana Rossini at the Athletic here, and saying that the Colts are, either engaged in or planning to engage in contract talks with Daniel Jones. And you guys don't need me to repeat this a million times. I covered the Giants. I watched a lot of Daniel Jones. I've seen it go wrong before, and I've seen it look a lot like this. And the team gave him a big extension. They regretted it. It didn't work out for numerous reasons. Again, not all Daniel Jones' fault. I'm not even trying to say that, but I am saying is that they ended up having to release him with a lot of dead money at the end of it, and that's not the result anybody wants. And so as I was talking it or thinking it through, I was thinking the franchise tag is there. It's your friend. You don't have to rush into a long-term relationship here. Just take it slow. Like it's a 1 year deal. It buys you more time. Now there are some cons, which I know you want to bring up and you should bring up because they are valid. They are very valid. That's why this conversation is nuanced. But because they do trade for Sauce Gardner and they get rid of the next 2 first-round picks, and that does, you would think, solidify Daniel Jones as the quarterback of the future. And I'm not even saying he's not. What I am saying is give yourself more time to evaluate. 8 games, 8 really good games from Daniel Jones. Small sample size. 3 kind of so-so or even bad games from Daniel Jones recently. Small sample size. Let's see a whole season. Let's see where this thing goes. And then you can kind of make an informed decision at the end. And know and remember that, as Chris Ballard said, and you wrote in your story, in your back pocket, you have this tool, this franchise tag that says, we don't have to commit to you long term yet. We can see how this goes and we'll give it another year. So I think the way you laid it out and the way we talked about it, like that to me right now, currently makes the most sense. Maybe he goes on a run, right? The next 6 games and he goes on a tear and he's back in the MVP conversation. And I'll, again, I look like an idiot, but that's where I am right now with the Colts and where I think they should be with Daniel Jones.
Absolutely, Jim. And I think a part of me always knew And I'm saying this like I'm some genius, right? Listen up, people. This is James Boyd giving you the greatest insight ever. I knew Daniel Jones would not stay that hot forever.
Yeah.
Wow, breaking news, right? But in all seriousness, he was playing as if he were a top five quarterback in the
Hmm.
NFL
Yeah.
for about 2 months. But part of me always knew, okay, he's going to cool off to some degree. But now the conversation is, at least in my mind, can you cool off and still be a top 12, top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Good enough to get us there, good enough to help us win games, perhaps maybe
Yep.
not good enough to like carry my entire offense. That's fine. I mean, you can still win in the NFL, win at a high rate, win at a high level if you don't have, the Patrick Mahomes or the Lamar Jackson. Now, granted, over the last few years, you probably want one of those guys to help you win it all, but still, you
Yep.
can win with Daniel Jones. You can do that. But my thing is, how much regression is too much? Because if you look at his career back with the Giants, he wasn't really all that great outside of 2022, which is why they got rid of him. And looking at some of his numbers, particularly when it comes to the blitz, Jim,
Yeah.
he hasn't been what he was through the first 2 months of the season over the last month. The first 8 games, brilliant. I believe he was number two in EPA per dropback against the blitz.
Yep.
Now, over the last month or so, I believe he's 28th in EPA per drawback against the blitz. That's not good. That's too much of a swing, in my opinion. And because of that, it makes me think, okay, how does Shane view his quarterback? What limitations do you view in Daniel? Or to your point from earlier, Jim, are you so convicted in your scheme and your play calling and Daniel Jones and his study habits and how much he cares that you
Yeah.
think, oh, this guy can go out there and be Patrick Mahomes. He can be Josh Allen because that's how he called that game against the Chiefs. And I worry about that going forward because when this Houston Texans defense comes to town, they're number two in scoring defense. They have great pass rushers and Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson. How do those guys, stack up against what you want Daniel Jones to do? That's my biggest concern.
Yeah. When you talk about where is the happy medium with Daniel Jones, it's hard to know. So again, like I'm gonna go through quickly his week 9 through 12 stats. That's 4 weeks, but it's only 3 games since the Colts had their bye in there. EPA versus the blitz is -0.3. That's 28th in the NFL among qualified quarterbacks. He's been blitzed at the fifth highest rate in the league, but that was very similar to the way he was before. It was at the third highest rate in the league in the first 8 weeks. So nothing's really changed there. But he's taking way more sacks. He's taking 10% of his dropbacks are turning into sacks. That's 29th in the NFL right now. You can't do that. And the problem is that's what Daniel Jones did in New York. He was around, I think for his career in New York, it was 8.5% on percent sack percentage. So you're seeing these same flaws pop up. You're seeing some of these inaccurate throws. Like I was listening to the Athletic Football Show. I highly recommend. It's a great show. You learn a ton about football listening to it. And Dave Hellman brought up Daniel Jones recently and said that through the first 8 weeks, he was like the T1000, right? Like he was just like a robot and machine, just like always making the right decision, always putting the ball exactly where it needed to be, always doing exactly what the offense told him he should be doing. I think you and Ted Wynn did that, kind of broke that down. What was making him so successful? The offense was allowing him to, here's the spot you should put it. You put it there. You put it there on time. Everything goes away. Great. It clicks. Defenses have adjusted now. He's not, and again, he's not going to be the T1000 forever. He has to go back to human form at some point, and we're starting to see that human form, and that has been to this point pretty bad these last 3 or 4 weeks. Not awful, but not great. And I just think you have to see where the medium ends up being because you're right. He was never going to be as good as he was in the first 8 weeks, and he's probably not as bad as he's been in these last 3 games, 4 weeks. But where is that medium? And I think these next 6 weeks to kind of spin it forward, like you were, I like against Houston, they're gonna. We saw what they did against Buffalo like last Thursday, or yeah, 2 Thursdays ago, I guess at this point when people are listening. But it was devastating. They just rocked Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. It was, I think, 10 sacks, but maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it was only 8, but it was a lot. And Daniel Jones has been terrible at avoiding sacks recently. And that has the recipe for disaster this weekend. And you need Daniel Jones to not like live up to that. He needs to go back to the way he was. Get rid of the ball quicker, make better decisions, and get back to what he was doing before. Again, I don't know if he can, and that's why we're talking about the franchise tag because I don't know what his ceiling is right now.
Exactly. So to get back to your point about the franchise tag and some limitations to it,
Yeah.
Over the Cap, which is one of the websites we use to basically gather data on contracts and more monetary things when it comes to the NFL. They project that the quarterback franchise tag for the 2026 season, which is next year, will be about $46 million. dollars. And because of the franchise tag, that money is fully guaranteed for 1 year and it counts against
Yep.
your salary cap. There is no wiggle room. There is no nuance to how you can really build that contract. For example, the Sauce Gardner contract is very much backloaded. So he's a pretty cheap player this year, very cheap player this year. Pretty cheap next year, I think at about $10 million as a base salary. And then it jumps, and I believe in the 2027 season. There is no possibility for that on a 1 year fully guaranteed deal, which is what Daniel Jones would play under. So, with that in mind, that would limit your ability to restructure the roster around him. And I mentioned this in my story. Alec Pierce is going to want a big payday, and he has earned a big payday. He is going to get a nice bag, whether it's from the Colts or somebody else. You have Braden Smith, who you might say, he's getting a little older. We'll move on. He hasn't played all that great as of late. Maybe Jalen Travis is stepping in, but still, he's a starter. He's been your starting right tackle for many years. That's a decision you have to make. Nick Cross, strong safety, good player, homegrown. You want to keep him around. So those are some of the names that come to mind when you think about, okay, free agency flexibility, knowing that you've already forked over $46 million for your quarterback. That's a big investment. And this is where I kind of fought you on this idea because I'm like, wait a second, well, why would I franchise tag him? Because I already gave up my next 2 first-round picks. But you were like, wait, James, what if it doesn't work out? If it doesn't work out, you shouldn't. Okay, if doubling down on it is what you did with Sauce Gardner by getting him, you shouldn't triple down on it.
Yeah.
If you don't know for sure what quarterback you're getting. And so from that standpoint, I would feel a little bit better about giving Daniel Jones 1 year, $46 million guaranteed versus, let's say, the Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold deal where it's 3 years and we're giving you $50 or $55 million guaranteed and it's spread out over multiple seasons. I know that somebody mentioned that in one of my comments on the story, Jim, and shout out to the savvy, fiscally responsible Colts fans who are always trying to toggle the keys a little bit to make sure the team is structured properly. They were like, well, how about we just front load the deal and just, sign him for 3 years, 100 million or whatever. Yeah, but he would never sign that. Like, I've had many conversations behind the scenes with people who work in front offices, whether it's the Colts or other places around the league. And, whether it's, from a player side, a team side, whatever. The bottom line when it comes to contracts is always the guaranteed money. I know we do this as fans. I do this. I get out the calculator. Whenever I see a new deal, I'm like, oh, man, this guy just got paid. How much money is that annually? First of all, it's never structured where it's like the same exact money every year. I realized, Jim, my salary and how things work in our world, putting in PTO days and whatnot, it ain't really structured the same when it comes to millions and billions of dollars. Just a little bit of difference there. But getting back to the point, I just feel like when it comes to the money side of it, Daniel would probably want, again, more guaranteed money than the $46 million that he would get on the franchise tag. And he would probably want it to be structured where, no, you're not going to just boot me after the first year. I want a significant guaranteed amount of money in the first and second year, maybe a third or something like that, where there isn't such a quick out. And then I still think, even though his play has tapered off a little bit as of the last 3 games, he still has the upper hand, in my opinion, with leverage in these negotiations because what are your options? I mean, he could be a reclamation project for somebody else. We've seen it happen every year where teams will, try to swoop in and get somebody. It's happened. I mean, Sam Darnold left the Vikings and went off to join Seattle, and he's having a great season. And we've seen Baker Mayfield, like I said, have a redeemed career, although he went to a couple different places after his first stop in the league. But point being, Daniel Jones would not, I would not advise him if I'm his agent to sign any deal that is basically the same as the franchise tag, but just longer years with no guarantees after that. I mean, there's no point in there. There's no incentive. That's the same deal in essence. So that's the only thing that I will push back on for some of the listeners or commenters who've engaged in this topic. And I appreciate, your banter on this, but that's kind of my perspective on it and why I think this is such a pivotal opportunity for him and the team. And then again, Houston is no joke, but after that, the Jaguars are no joke.
Yeah.
And after that, I think you might have, if I'm not mistaken, you got San Francisco coming up.
Yep.
So they're no joke. They find ways to win. So this is, in my opinion, yes, it's a runway for the Colts to perhaps get back on track, get ready for the playoffs, but it's also still an extended audition for what will be the biggest decision you make at the most important position. You've nailed it, and I get that we're kind of like poo-pooing on what has happened this year, and I don't want to sound like the negative Nancy here, but Jim, what's your perspective actually on the raised expectations they've given themselves? Can we view this team the same as we would coming into the season, or have they earned more of a critique because they've proven at their best they can probably hang with anybody?
Yeah, I think we talked about that earlier, and to quickly correct that Seattle then San Francisco in that.
Sorry, yes.
Point still stands, and Seattle's an even better team. So, yeah, the expectations are high. We've talked about that a lot. Like, we've gotten to the point now where if they don't win the division, I feel like it's a disappointment now. And we can get into the odds and stats, and the NFL playoff simulator we have at The Athletic is an awesome way to kind of look at that stuff, and I'll give you some of the numbers later. But just to kind of speak about it more generally, they put themselves in such a position that I think losing the division, it would feel like losing the division, right? If they didn't go out and win the AFC South at this point, it would feel like they gave it up. They lost it. And so, yes, the expectations are higher, and they're higher going forward. Like, I think we can look at this team now and say it's a well-built team. There's a great, maybe too high. It's a really, really good supporting cast around Daniel Jones. They have a good offensive line. They have, I think, some of the best weaponry in the NFL in terms of receivers, running backs, and tight ends combined. The defense is obviously going to be better once they get, Sauce Gardner kind of gets into the flow of the thing. We get Jarvis Ward back for, healthy and back in the flow. You get DeForest Buckner eventually back here if that, and it sounds like that's what's going to happen maybe after he's off of IR. So this team is built to contend and is built to win. And it will be a disappointment if they don't, I don't know, at this point, I guess, win a playoff game. I think that's probably where we're at right now. They've already kind of lost the 1 seed shot. I think that it's not necessarily their fault either. New England's got just a cupcake schedule, and they've been able to take advantage of it. And that they're probably going to maintain that going the way. But we got 6 more weeks to figure that out. Point is, expectations are raised, and I do think you mentioned the Sauce Gardner deal about how it's backloaded. That to me even is a good argument for doing the franchise tag because you have more cap available. You're not paying Sauce Gardner all that money right now. You actually have a little bit more money to play with in the beginning, and you can tag Daniel for 1 more year just to say, okay, is this the guy we want? And then if you re-sign him, then you could push some of that money in the future, play with it, make it work with Sauce's hit and some of the other contract extensions you're going to end up giving out. But I know it's not the ideal scenario. The ideal scenario is you have a great quarterback, you pay him, and you can hide the money wherever you want to hide it. They're not in that ideal scenario yet. Again, I will repeat, if he goes on a tear and he beats Seattle and San Francisco and the Jaguars and Houston, you know what? This conversation will look stupid. They should pay him, and he is the next reclamation quarterback project, like a successful reclamation quarterback, and there you go. Like that's great for the Colts. But you got to give it a little bit longer. And remember that the franchise tag is an option. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I saw a comment from your story, and somebody had said, like, if they let him go, somebody else is going to sign him. Don't let him go. That's not what we're saying. Right. We're not saying let him go. He should be the quarterback for the Colts. You wrote that very explicitly in your story. He will be the quarterback for the Colts next year. In what form and fashion matters, though. Well, how they make that work for them matters. And yes, but no matter what I think happens this year, when he comes back and leads them next year, playoffs are the expectation. And if he doesn't have them on that track, say he's franchise tagged, and he doesn't have them on that track, you might be looking for another quarterback solution at this point.
Absolutely. The other factor to consider too, and I probably should have led with this. Thoughts are a little bit all over the place because we recorded this again before I went to practice, and then I came back and we have new information. So we were able to follow up with Daniel Jones about his fibula injury. And he said it was something that kind of just flared up on him last week. Doesn't really know when it happened. I would not give him truth serum on that. I don't know if Pinocchio's nose will go any longer or something like that. I don't know if I'm trusting him or Shane when they say he's fine. He's clearly a bit compromised, not to the point where I can make excuses for how he performed last week. but he's not himself. I don't think he's 100% himself. He might be at, I don't know, 90%, 85, whatever. But point is, we haven't talked about his injury history. And that's another factor. He hasn't always been the most durable quarterback. So if this fibula injury lingers going forward, that's something to keep in mind before you hand over a bunch of money. What was the number one thing that Chris Ballard told us about Anthony Richardson and why he had to bring another quarterback in? He can't stay healthy. So I'm thinking about that. It's in the back of my mind with Daniel Jones because I want to say he's only had a couple of years throughout his first 6 or 7 in the NFL where he's played it out fully and been healthy. You know, I know he's had a neck injury before, he's had an ACL, so there's other things to certainly think about moving forward, but he said he's good to go. And against that Houston team, I think beyond just him, if you look at the other side of the ball, Jim, to kind of make another point about Sauce Gardner, that dude is going to come in handy. And I'm looking at the numbers from Nico Collins against this team, and assuming CJ Stroud is back in the lineup, which he's trending to be from a concussion, him and Nico Collins have been like, you know, I don't know, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, it feels like, where they're just going out there and balling. I mean, Nico Collins over his last 3 games against the Colts, he's caught 22 passes on 26 targets, 458 yards.
Woo.
He's averaging 152 yards per game against the Colts over the last 3, 20 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's been remarkable. So, no, I don't think that they're going to like put Sauce or Charvarius Ward on an island and say, hey, go guard Nico Collins by yourself. But, boy, having the ability to still have some help over the top, because Nico has crushed them when it comes to just big plays over the last few meetings in the last couple of years. He's crushed them. But if you're able to have that safety help over the top, but then your matchup closest to Nico Collins is Sauce Gardner, I feel much better about that opportunity versus, you know, again, the last few years where some of your cornerback groups included the likes of Dallas Flowers and, you know, others who, you know, might be more fringe or NFL players or just more depth pieces, in my opinion.
Yeah, the matchup is I can't get away from those pass rushers, man. Like I still can't. Like I said, obviously I know Nico Collins and that and that offense could be better. We'll obviously have CJ Stroud back, but man, I Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, they haunt my dreams.
They do scare me. I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to like, hey, maybe it ain't that. Maybe it ain't so bad. Look, hey, I was doing the, it's like when I'm sure you got young kids or when you got like a pet or something, you're like hanging something in front of them to distract them. I was trying to distract you a little bit, but yeah, those 2 big dudes up front.
I can't.
It's a problem.
It's just, again, it's not that there's going to be other parts of the game that matter. There truly are, the one you brought up. And I cannot get that game against Buffalo out of my mind right now. Like if that's the way they're going to play, like, I don't know if you guys saw, but Austin Mock did it. He posted the splash play report, and Leatu Latu is high up there. He's like 16th, and he's been really, really good all year making splash plays. But like number 1 on that list was Will Anderson. Number 4 on that list was Danielle Hunter. Like they are just wreaking havoc. Tackles for loss, sacks, pressures, batted passes, like causing interceptions. It's insane right now what those guys are doing. D'Amico Ryans has those guys playing about as good as you can play. And so this puts the impetus, I think, even more on the offensive line. And I think you talked about this maybe in version 1 of this, but like Bernhard Raimann has not looked the best. And that's more, I think, more in pass protection than anything. But this team needs to get its run game going against Houston. It cannot let Houston pin its ear back in 2nd and 3rd and long situations and know that they can just chase Daniel Jones. The game will not. It'll just be over. If they are able to just 3rd and long and Daniel Jones, there'll be like you eliminate the play action part of the game, it'll just be over. The Colts will lose. So they have to get the run game going. They have to have a high success rate on those 1st and 2nd down runs. I'm not saying he's got to pop off for 40 yards. What I'm saying is he needs to get 4 yards on 1st down. He needs to get 3 yards on 2nd down. And then you create those 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s where you don't put Daniel Jones in a spot where he's got to go win it for you. Because again, as we've seen recently, he has it in him, but you don't want to rely on it. So
exactly. You don't want to marry your future to it, like we said, when it comes to the franchise tag. And trust me, as the single bachelor, I'm a big fan of taking things slow. Look, Jim, I know you're in a great spot in your life, married, kids, white picket fence, everything. I don't want no fence. I don't want no grass right now. I want to be able to call the landlord and say, you know what, come fix the leaky pipe because I don't own this place no way. I'm just here for a good time, not a long time type of thing. So we'll see, again, based off Daniel's performance, how committed the Colts should be. And to your point about the pass rush and the offensive line, I do want to make it clear. I'm harping on Daniel Jones a lot because that's what I feel like we do in sports, and he is playing the most important position on the team. But their offensive line could certainly be better.
Sure.
I felt like, again, Bernard Ryman has not played like $100 million left tackle this season.
Nope.
That's a fair statement. Braden Smith, as of late, has not played to the standard that we've seen him play at. And so those two guys, I think the edge has been more of an issue for me personally watching this Colts team and looking at the interior offensive line. So, and again, like I feel like the boogeyman's on both shoulders right now, Jim. You got Will Anderson Jr. on one side, and you got Danielle Hunter on the other. Pick your poison. So can you be a little bit more formidable? And hey, does that mean changing your scheme a little bit? Does that mean, hey, we have Tyler Warren chip some of these guys? Do we have Jonathan Taylor in the max protect? Whatever the case may be, can we do a little bit to give Daniel more time to be comfortable? And to your point about running the ball, it's going to be tough. And the key to that is, and he's done it in the past, which makes it so frustrating for Shane, is like, can you just stick with it enough? Yeah. Because, again, if you do have success through the year and you're leading the game like you were against Kansas City, then use the run to use the clock. That's number one. But number two, give JT those opportunities. He's kind of like a boxer. Give him those body blows because he usually will deliver for you. And let's not forget, he is a hell of a football player. And so I would much rather the other team take him out of the game and say, hey, I gave him 20, 25 touches and we just couldn't find anything, and it is what it is, versus looking at what we saw last week where it's like, oh, man, he didn't even have 20 carries, and you had a chance to step on the throat of the defending 3-time AFC champs, and you couldn't do it. So huge matchup, huge opportunity. I think growth opportunity from an immediate standpoint for Shane, because this cannot continue to happen. We cannot continue to say every month or every 3-4 games, oh, man, you know what? That clock management, that wasn't great. Oh, man, he forgot about Jonathan Taylor. Again, we can't keep saying that. And then for Daniel Jones, it's, in my mind, can you get back to playing at not necessarily a top 5 MVP level, but can you get back to being around that 10-12 range where we trust you to not just be a game manager, you can go out there and help us win games, but also we don't have to put so much on you, because I don't trust it. I will probably never trust Daniel Jones to the point where I'm like, this guy's Josh Allen. This guy's, Lamar. I just haven't seen that. And it's not wrong to not trust that. I feel like you have to help him to a degree where, Shane, he ain't built like that. That's fine. You can still be successful without, pass on every single play of the game towards the end. So huge matchup. And I think you alluded to it earlier, Jim, for the AFC South. You win this game, you're in the driver's seat. 74% chance of winning according to our playoff prediction model. 74% chance of winning the division. You lose this game, it drops to 44%.
Huge swing. Huge swing. That's crazy. And again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that if they lose that game, Houston will be right on their tails. But Jacksonville is predicted to beat Jacksonville is predicted to beat the Titans, and therefore they'd be tied in the standings. And Jacksonville has an easier schedule down the stretch than the Colts do. The Colts schedule is a nightmare down the stretch. So they have to have these games. They have to beat these division games, especially. They're hugely important. I mean, right now we're talking division, but you lose this game, then you start talking about the playoffs a little bit. Like it starts to get a little bit. Okay, the Chiefs are coming. They're right now you're looking at the top 7 teams. Chiefs aren't in there. Like that's a little scary. Like that, they're going to find their spot, right? And they have the tiebreaker now. So you don't want to mess around with the wild card. You want the division. And the way to do the division is to beat those division teams, is to beat a team like Houston that offensively you should be able to handle. Obviously, like you said, Nico Collins is a problem, but they've struggled this year for most of the year offensively, and they should be able to hold them down and do just enough on offense. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, though. God, Houston's defense is leading the league in yards allowed. They are top 3 in pass yards allowed per game. They're number 2 in rush yards allowed per game. They're averaging 16.5 points per game allowed. I mean, any stat you look at, these guys are just unbelievable. So, honestly, if you're the Colts, I think you got to feel like you got to get to 20, 21, 24 points. You get to that, you win the game. And that you should feel like you should win the game at that point.
Oh, absolutely. So before we get out of here, I want to mention this really quickly and just say thank you. Jim, I was nominated by the National Sports Media Association as the Indiana Sports Writer of
Woohoo!
the Year.
Congratulations.
So, when I saw the list of 6 people, I was like, man, that's 6 people too many. It should just be me by myself. And if I
agree.
and I'm just joking about that. I'm saying that because, if you all listening, especially if you listen to 107.5 The Fan, the majority of the list are guys we have on the show all the time. So I have a lot of respect for what they've done. Look up to a lot of these reporters as I was kind of finding my footing here in Indiana. But thanks for all the help along the way, as much as you don't take credit for it. But I'm like, look, man,
it's all you, man.
I write stories, and it's like, man, they don't always, how do I say this? What I turn in is not always what you read at the end. So there's a lot of help along the way from you and others at The Athletic. So proud to represent the brand, and I'm excited about it. I called my dad and told him about it, Jim, and I think I was humble for maybe 10 seconds. And after that, I told him, I said, you talking to the man, you talking to, I'm the daddy in this conversation. He's like, boy, if you don't get off my phone, I congratulate you. You just want to rub it in. How you going to rub it in when I want you to win too? So it's just funny to,
you got to go full Shador. Got to go full Shador on that. Be like, this is all the haters. Yeah.
What he say after his first win? That's after week of practice. What the whole offseason look like? So I was joking with the guys today. I saw Joey Erickson, who covers the Colts as well, and Stephen Holder of ESPN. He's also been nominated. I saw those guys today, and told them I'm coming for him, and was giving them a little side eye there in the media room. But it's all in good fun. And honestly, more than anything, I think those nominations and moments make you think about all the stuff you got to cover this year. It's been a long year, a fun year, but it's like, boy, we went from, covering the draft to the NBA Finals to WNBA All-Star Weekend to the Colts are suddenly good again, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've sent, I would hate to see the actual total of edits I've sent Jim. Like, hey, wait a second. I don't really like how that sentence looks, and hey, I forgot a period there. So I appreciate the help, and it's always fun to express that to those listening and to you as well.
Hey, congratulations, man. Like I said, I think I can say that we at The Athletic and all the readers are lucky to have you in Indiana and covering the Colts and the Pacers and everything else you do. So man, it's been a joy, and you've earned it, man. I think I'm glad you're getting the recognition you deserve.
All right. So on that note, again, I'm trying to stay humble because, when my editor gasses me up, I'm ready to talk trash to anybody. I hope you all enjoy the holidays and enjoy Thanksgiving. Like I said, take the cranberry sauce, punt it into the sun. If you eat that, I wish much better for you and your stomach. But in all seriousness, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the time with your family. Don't take it for granted. I surely do not. I know, Jim, you do not as well. So, yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. It feels like the Colts are already in playoff mode. Like every single game now, I'm going to be thinking about what it means for the playoffs, what it means for seeding, what it means for the future of this franchise. And I will say, having covered this team for 4 years, even though it's stressful, it's stressful in a good way where I'm not worried about okay, who they're going to fire after the year, like the last couple of years. It's more so, okay, what are they going to do with these big stakes that they've now created for themselves? So on that note, like I said, take it easy, be thankful, and we will talk to you all next week.
Some things in life are just made for each other. Peanut butter and jelly, macaroni and cheese, Modelo and college football. College football season is Modelo season, and the season has officially kicked off. The Modelo Recruiter is back in action, looking to reward full-time fans who give their all for their team and their school, week in and week out. If you're listening to this, you've been recruited. So lace them up and get out there. And don't forget to make time for a well-deserved ice-cold reward, because college football wouldn't be the same without you. So grab yourself a Modelo and enjoy, the official beer sponsor of the College Football Playoff, Modelo.